Okay, so before moving on with the next concept, I just thought of sharing with you what is REST API. And because when I'm going to discuss about DRF, the Django REST framework, then it might be helpful to you. So I have on my LinkedIn profile, I have shared one document. I'm going to use that under my features. So this is the document. You can also access that. It's available on my LinkedIn profile. Yeah, so let's get started with the rest. So it's representational state transfer, basically, and then it basically it's set of architectural constraints. So it has like six constraints. When they are applied as a whole, emphasize scalability of the component interaction, generality of interfaces, independent development of component and intermediary component to reduce interaction latency, and for security and encapsulate legacy system. So this is something once I talk about. So if you remember, I had a discussion about the client server architecture, right? Where I was talking about the separation of concerns. So that is a one constraint which is applicable here, right? Where client and server can be developed independently and their responsibilities are not depending on each other, right? So if you remember there what we were talking about, right? So we were talking about something like the client will have responsibilities of, let me use a correct color. Let's use this. Yeah. So client is the server. Server is responsible for this guy. So so we have to keep it. So this guy server is responsible for providing the service, and the client is responsible for first requesting the service and then using the service, right? And client will always initiate the request, and server will always respond to a request. So it starts from here, then goes here, and then comes back here. So this loop always completes. There might be some latency, but for sure it can be either 200 okay, or it's a 404 bad request. Again, that's one of the, these are the codes, and these are the what is that? So 200 on a success and 404 you might have seen when you don't find a resource, right? Moving on, moving on with our, okay, so this is an illustration of the client server architecture again, where this client can be any of the web browser or can be a mobile phone based application, and with the internet they are connected to servers, which is either AWS, or it is a on-prem, or it is on cloud, depending upon where it is, but there is a connection between them and they can request and server can respond to that. That's kind of a bare minimum thing which is required. Coming to the another important thing is how there's a use case diagram where I have defined here. So this use case diagram, right? So we have a user who is using a browser. Let's say this is using Edge browser, and it clicks on product. So there is a UI where it is on product, kind of a button is there. Once you click, it goes to server, and then server requests the details from the data source, and the data source returns it back to the server, and then server retrieve the payload, and then user will see the products or product, right? So again, this is something which we have already discussed in a full stack application video, where this is your front end application, this is your backend application, and this data source is your database. Can be NoSQL and SQL based. Backend can be Flask based or your Node plus Express JS, or the client front end can be on React, Angular, or Vue.js. So that's again uh, something. So 99% of the services use HTTP. It's a media and protocol agnostic. That's important. Very important to understand. What does it mean, right? So I can develop a REST APIs using Python, Node, or C++, Java, Spring Boot. Now, if you see, these are different technologies. So it's not like only using Python you can develop a REST APIs. Only you can use. Okay. So there can be there are different type of, like we have. So this is media and the protocol agnostic. So when I talk about protocols, like I can use HTTP, I can use FTP, I can use some other protocol. As long as our so basically, as long as the constraints specified rest is applied on the system, we call that system as a REST compliant or REST based API, or whatever you call it. And if the choice of protocol is HTTP, then we have a specific name called RESTful API. RESTful API. So then we call it a RESTful. So when I say RESTful, means underlying protocol is gonna be your HTTP. So that is something. What does it mean? I hope it's clear now. Moving on. So let me take back my control here. Yeah. So here uniform resource identifier. So I did a quick Google search here, and that is what if you do, you might also get. I did it in long back, 23rd November 2021. Wow, it's quite old. Yeah. So basically, it's a way to access every resource which is available on her server, right? So every resource has a unique location. For example, let's take one example. So let's say I have a building which this building has, let's say, one, two, three, four floors, and every floor has, let's say, three houses. So it has houses from 101 to 103, and similarly 203, and similarly 303 and 403. Okay. So I want to send some letter to this. So my friend stays in, let's say, house number 402, and this building name is XYZ building, and this building is again available in ABC city, and this is the building name. Now, if what is that address I need to hit in terms of getting this letter or this message delivered, right? So what I'll do, I'll ask somebody, can you go to ABC city, and inside ABC city you go to XYZ building and then go to 402 house number and deliver this message. So in this case it will be a success, right? So in this case it will be a success because this house here is a 402. Now instead what I do, I'll tell go to ABC XYZ building house number 501. Now what will happen? There is no house number 501 here. So this letter will not be delivered, right? So that is how we can understand there is a specific URI. So if you go always this every time you're trying to identify some resource, if it is available or not, as a success and a failure. So every time I hit this mess, I give this address, I have, let's say now I have another message too. Let's say I have another message. Let's say I have message two, right? Now, if I want this message to also to deliver or to this particular house, I need to use this URL or this address, right? Every time. So that is a uniqueness is there in that, right? Though the city and the building is same, but again the area where the resource is available or this house is available is different, right? So that is how the URI we should understand. And this is like URN also. You can read about it. Okay. So that's basically an understanding about this. Okay. So moving on to our, so this is how the RESTful requests look like. So this is the protocol I told you it should be HTTP and domain. In our most of our cases, it's a local host and then followed by some port, and this is the path, and that's also okay. So so this is your, I think there's a request and there's a request body. We'll see that, and again there's a response. We always have the protocol and then status code and the status message we call it. Uh, okay, moving on. So these are type of request we have. We have get, post, put. So basically, get is and post are common. Put is also, we can interchangeably use post and put. It's how you want to use it. You can read about it. So these are the verbs we use. These are the status code which tells, so any status which is starting from 200 or 201 is another message. So they should have the success, redirection, error, and server error. So this they should start with this number, right? So like two here it is starting with two, so means it's a success related thing. And yeah, so these are the six constraints I was talking about earlier. So this is a client-server architecture, stateless, cacheable, uniform, layered, code on demand. So this is an, I think, optional constraint, but this should be the five constraint. So we will not go in detail. You can read about it, and when any system which is complying or following these constraints are applicable, that system becomes a RESTful API. Hope you like this session, and see you in the next video.